thought I had it all. Got a beautiful wife, a great job, a life that was pretty much perfect. We'd been married for 8 years, and I was still as crazy about Sarah as the day I met her. She was smart, funny, and stunningly beautiful. She worked as an executive assistant for a big-shot CEO named Mark, a guy who always seemed a little too friendly, a little too smooth. I'd met him at company parties. He'd slap me on the back, call me buddy, and tell me how lucky I was to have Sarah. I used to think he was just being nice. Now I know he was laughing at me. The signs were there, I just didn't want to see them. Late nights at the office became more frequent. We're closing a huge deal, she'd say. Business trips that popped up at the last minute. Mark needs me in Chicago. It's super important. I was supportive, of course. I'd make her dinner when she got home late, pack her bags for her trips. I trusted her completely. That was my first mistake. The truth came out in the most cliché way possible. Misdirected text message. It was late, and I was already in bed. My phone buzzed. It was from Sarah's number, but it clearly wasn't for me. It said, "Can't wait to get out of here and be in your arms. Tonight was amazing. He has no idea." My heart stopped. I read it again and again, the words blurring through the tears that started to form. He has no idea. My world crumbled in that single moment. I confronted her when she got home. First, she denied everything, called me crazy, paranoid. But when I showed her the text, the facade shattered. She broke down and confessed. It had been going on for 6 months, with her boss, Mark. The late nights, the business trips, it was all a lie. She said she was sorry, that it was a mistake, but the words were empty. The woman I loved, the life I had built, was gone. The divorce was brutal. She wanted half of everything, of course. And since Mark was a powerful man with expensive lawyers, they tried to paint me as the bad guy. It was a dark, humiliating time. I felt broken, betrayed, and completely powerless. Every night I'd lie awake, my mind racing with anger and a thirst for revenge. I wanted to make them feel a fraction of the pain they'd caused me. But I knew that a direct confrontation would only make things worse. Couldn't beat Mark at his own game, not with money or power. So I had to be smarter. That's when the idea hit me. Revenge didn't have to be loud and destructive. Sometimes the quietest moves are the most devastating. I knew Mark's biggest weakness wasn't his arrogance or his wandering eye. It was his obsession with his public image. He was the golden boy CEO, the family man, the philanthropist. His reputation was everything. And I knew just how to dismantle it, brick by brick, without him ever seeing me coming. I started by doing my homework. I spent weeks digging into Mark's company, his business dealings, everything. I wasn't looking for anything illegal, not at first. I was looking for patterns, for vulnerabilities. Sarah had often complained about how disorganized the company was behind the scenes, how Mark cut corners to boost profits. She'd told me stories, things she thought were unimportant. But I had been listening. I created an anonymous online persona, a supposed former employee, disillusioned with the company's practices. I started a blog and a social media account under this fake name. My first posts were small, almost unnoticeable. I talked about the company culture, the pressure on employees, the little things that suggested all was not as perfect as it seemed. I was careful, never making direct accusations, just planting seeds of doubt. Then I escalated. I started anonymously tipping off industry journalists and financial bloggers. I'd send them little nuggets of information I'd gleaned from my research and from what Sarah had told me. You might want to look into their Q3 supply chain reports, I'd write. Ask them about their employee turnover rate in the sales department. I was a ghost, a whisper in the wind, pointing them in the right direction. Slowly, but surely, the narrative began to shift. Small articles started appearing online, questioning the company's stellar performance. Financial analysts began to look closer at their books. The stock, which had been on a steady climb, started to waver. I watched it all from the sidelines, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Mark, of course, was in full undamage control mode. He held press conferences, denied everything, and promised transparency. But the more he talked, the more questions arose. The seeds I had planted were growing into a forest of suspicion. He started to look stressed, paranoid. I imagined him lashing out at his staff, wondering who the mole was. I wondered if he ever looked at Sarah and suspected her. The beauty of my plan was its deniability. I never said a word to anyone. A digital footprint was non-existent. I was just a guy going through a divorce, trying to put his life back together. No one would ever connect me to the storm brewing around Mark. The final blow came from an angle I hadn't even planned. The increased scrutiny on the company led a major news organization to launch a full-scale investigation. And they found it. The thing I couldn't find. A pattern of shady overseas dealings, not quite illegal, but deeply unethical. It involved labor practices that were a PR nightmare. When the story broke, it was a bombshell. The company's stock plummeted. The board of directors, desperate to save the company, convened an emergency meeting. Mark was forced to resign in disgrace. His golden reputation was shattered, his career in ruins. He lost everything he had built his identity on, and Sarah. Well, when Mark's world came crashing down, he had no more use for her. She was part of the old regime, a reminder of his failure. She was let go a week after he resigned. Suddenly she was out of a job, with a tarnished reputation by association, and in the middle of a messy divorce. The glamorous life she had betrayed me for had evaporated into thin air. The last I heard, she had moved back to her hometown to live with her parents. Mark disappeared from the public eye completely. They never knew it was me. They probably blamed each other or 100 other faceless enemies. They never saw the quiet, heartbroken husband they had cast aside as the architect of their downfall. I didn't do it to get Sarah back. I didn't do it for the money. I did it to reclaim my own dignity. They tried to break me, to humiliate me. But I refused to be a victim. Instead of sinking into despair, I channeled my pain into a plan. Took my revenge without laying a finger on them, without raising my voice. I simply gave them a gentle push and watched as their own corrupt world collapsed under its own weight. It's true what they say. The best revenge is living well, knowing that I outsmarted them. That's a satisfaction that's better than any loud, angry confrontation could ever be. My life is my own again, and it's peaceful, and that's the ultimate victory.
Thanks for watching my story. If you've ever felt powerless, remember that knowledge and patience are weapons too.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.